Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac Locklear, and welcome back to Between the Lines, a podcast where we look beyond the surface of television and explore the deeper meaning hidden inside the TV shows we watch. In this episode, I will be discussing how one episode of The Simpsons uses humor and satire to talk about a real issue in today's world: technology, privacy, and the control companies can have over our personal data. While The Simpsons is known for being funny and entertaining, it also has a long history of making audience think about serious topics. Today, I want to take a closer look at one of those episodes that does exactly that. The Simpsons is one of the longest running television shows of all time, and it has remained popular for decades because of the way it blends comedy with real life issues. The show uses satire, exaggeration, and humor to comment on topics like politics, family, life, education, business, and technology. Even though the characters and situations are often ridiculous, the show usually reflects something true about society. That is one of the reasons The Simpsons is so effective, and it makes people laugh, but it also encourages them to think more deeply about the world around them. In many ways, the show acts like a mirror, reflecting both the funny and the troubling parts of modern life. In this podcast episode, I will be focusing on season 30, episode 5 of The Simpsons, titled Baby You Can't Drive My Car. This episode is centered around self-driving technology and the growing concerns surrounding data collection and privacy. At first, the episode presents this new technology as exciting, modern, and convenient. But as the story develops, it becomes clear that the writers are asking an important question: what happens when people trust technology too easily without understanding what it is doing behind the scenes? This episode stood out to me because it connects comedy with a serious warning about how companies collect, track, and use personal information in ways that many people may not fully recognize. After losing his job, Homer gets involved with Cargo, a self-driving car company that appears innovative, fun, and full of opportunities. At first, the company seems harmless and even exciting. Homer gets to enjoy the experience without thinking too hard about what the company is actually doing. This reflects how many people respond to new technology in the real world. If something is easy, convenient, and entertaining, people often accept it right away. However, as the episode continues, it becomes clear that Cargo is doing much more than simply offering transportation. The company is collecting information from passengers and using that data in questionable ways. This shift in the story reveals that convenience often comes with hidden costs. It starts off while eating chicken nuggets on his way to work. Homer crashes his car into Mr. Burns' office at the nuclear power plant and is immediately fired. While unemployed, Homer sees a television report announcing that a self-driving car company called Cargo has arrived in Springfield. Homer is hired as a test rider for the new autonomous vehicles where he just sits back in the car and lets the car do all the driving. Tech workplace culture. Cargo represents real-world technology companies that often attract workers and customers by offering comfort, excitement, and convenience. The company is presented as modern, fun, and appealing, much like many tech businesses today that are known for their perks, creativity, workplace, and relaxed environment. But the episode suggests is that these attractive features can also distract people from asking important ethical questions. Employees may become so focused on the benefits that they stop thinking about the larger consequence of the technology they are helping to create. In that way, the episode criticizes not only the company itself, but also the culture around modern technology, where innovation is often celebrated without enough discussion about responsibility, privacy, or harm. Okay, privacy and surveillance. One of the strongest messages in this episode is about privacy. The self-driving cars secretly record conversations, gather personal information, and even begin making decisions for the passengers. This shows how easily people can lose control when they trade privacy for convenience. In real life, people use devices, apps, and online services every day without fully reading the terms or understanding how much of their data is being collected. The episode exaggerates this idea for comedic effect, but the warning is still serious. It reminds viewers that technology is not always neutral. When companies have access to personal data, they can influence choices, predict behavior, and sometimes even control what people do next. That is what makes this episode both funny and unsettling at the same time. The key takeaway from this episode is that technology should never be trusted blindly. Just because something is new, fast, or convenient does not mean it is safe or ethical. The episode encourages viewers to think critically about the tools they use and the companies behind them. In today's world, self-driving technology, smart devices, and digital platforms are becoming more common, which makes this message even more relevant. People often assume that convenience equals progress, but this episode challenges that idea. It suggests that progress without accountability can become dangerous. For listeners, the lesson is simple but important. Ask questions, pay attention, and do not give away control too easily just because something feels easy or entertaining. Overall, I found this episode both entertaining and meaningful. One of the Simpsons' greatest strengths is its ability to use humor to make serious topics easier to understand. Instead of delivering a lecture about privacy and ethics, the show tells a funny story that still leaves the audience thinking. That is what made this episode effective for me. It was enjoyable on the surface, but it also carried a deeper message that connects directly to modern life. The humor keeps the audience engaged while the satire makes the message memorable. In my opinion, this balance between entertainment and social commentary is one of the reasons The Simpsons has remained important for so many years. In conclusion, Baby You Can't Drive My Car shows how modern technology can quietly take control when people stop asking questions and accept convenience without thinking critically. Through humor, satire, and exaggeration, the episode warns viewers about the risk of giving companies too much access to personal information. It also reminds us that technology can be helpful, but only when people remain aware of how it works and how it affects society. That is what makes this episode more than just entertainment. It becomes a message about responsibility, privacy, and the need to stay informed. Thank you for listening to Between the Lines. I'm Isaac Locklear, and I'll see you next time.